What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to ICNV Drivers Edition. Today I got the phone call saying the C8 E-Ray is better than the C8 Z06. And sometimes I think people just say things to spark up conversations. But then again, truthfully, this is coming from a lot of the C8 E-Ray owners. So I feel like we really need to have a true discussion about a comparison between the C8 E-Ray and the C8 Z06. And I feel like after we have this conversation, not only will you have a better understanding of how the cars are truly not parallel in performance as many people may believe, and why the C8 E-Ray struggles to sell. Let's talk about it. The sales of these cars all depends on the evaluation of value. Let's start with the C7 and talking to Corvette owners. A lot of people bought the Z51 and they're quick to tell you that it performs better and it's the better performing car than the base Stingray. And you don't argue it, so most people go out and buy a Z51 because they want the better car. I bought my C7 Z51 before the Grand Sport came out. Actually, the Grand Sport was discussed, but it wasn't actually out. The Grand Sport comes out. Most people that buy the Grand Sport tell you they purchased the Grand Sport because A, they wanted the wide body, they like the look. Other people will tell you it's the better version of the Z51 car because it has better track capabilities and it's built better to perform on the track. Despite the fact they never actually tracked their car, but their justification for buying a Grand Sport is because it's the better version of the base Z51 car. And then the people that buy the Z06 says, of course, we want to buy the car that has the best performance. It's the fastest car. It's the better performing car. So they bought or they purchased a better performing car. But then when the C7 ZR1 came out, and it was the better performing car, the justification for buying the C7 Z06 was, oh, you have to be crazy to spend that type of money on a car. I'm not going to buy a car that I can't use the performance. Well, truthfully, no one really can use the Z06 performance. But buying the car was based off having the best. And that has always transpired between Corvette owners. Many owners buy the Stingray because it's really what they can afford. They discredit the purchase of a Z06 or E-Ray saying you can't use that performance, so why waste the money on getting the car? Some people may truthfully feel that way, but I turn back and say to you, the discounts that are being offered on the E-Ray makes a lot of base E-Rays the same price as a highly spec'd out 2LT Z51 or a 3LT Z51 base Stingray. So why aren't you buying the car? Before we can dive into why these cars aren't selling, I think the real question has to be asked. These cars are worth the money. So I guess we're talking about value because everybody quickly hollers out the cars are overpriced. Well, let's see if we really see the value in the pricing to even get to this point. Like I mentioned before, people have stated that if you don't own or drive the cars, you really can't compare the cars. And I truly think that is wrong, or that's bad information. So just because the ownership experience or the time behind the wheel isn't long, it doesn't mean you can't give a fair review or an opinion on the car. Now, here's my take. The reason why I feel the base C8 struggles to sell now is because the target market for that car has either purchased the car or they have upgraded from the car. And so now the people that are looking to get their hands on a base C8, a C8 Z51, really are people who want to own the car but their market space isn't technically the target audience for the car. What do I mean by that? The market space for people who want to own the car, their budget range is somewhere around $60,000. And because they can't get the car for $60,000, they want to holler that or they want to complain, or they want to make statements saying that the car is overpriced because it's not in an affordable range where they're allowed to purchase or buy the car today. There are people who want to own a Lamborghini Huracan who only can afford to spend, say, $160,000 or $170,000 on a sports car. Just because they can expend that type of money for a performance car doesn't mean they are in the right price range for a Lamborghini Huracan. And because you can't find one in the lower mile, or should I say the lower price range of $180,000, doesn't mean the car is overpriced. So that's why the base C8 struggles to sell. But when you look at the C8 E-Ray and the C8 Z06, that's a whole nother playing field. And the problem with these cars is that, one, their performance is almost parallel to each other. So the focus becomes, why would I buy an E-Ray if I can get a Z06? Or the Z06 is overpriced because it performs the same as an E-Ray. But when you truly get a better understanding of how both cars deliver and put down power to the ground, you quickly understand that there's a huge difference between the cars, and that parallel performance really isn't quite that parallel. And I'll explain. The thing a lot of people like to focus on is the 0 to 60 times, because I guess we are all drag strip racing, or at least racing one stoplight to the next. And because of that, the E-Ray has been labeled the quickest Corvette ever, which has now been dethroned based off the C8 ZR1 being introduced to the market space. But the quickest Corvette was the title given to the E-Ray. The E-Ray was supposed to make 0 to 60 times in 2.5 seconds. Now, the thing about that 2.5 seconds is that is probably the most consistent time you will see on a C8 E-Ray, meaning that your grandma could get behind the car, launch the car, and do 0 to 60 in 2.5 seconds. It is a consistent. The E-Ray, with the all-wheel drive capabilities since the hybrid platform has been introduced to the Corvette C8 6.2-liter V8, by adding the powertrain to the front wheels, which is the electric motors of the hybrid system, it now allows the E-Ray to take off and launch consistently the same over and over and over again. But the best time that was achieved has actually been 2.4. And I believe that was done by Haggerty. And the reason why I mention this is because the way we can compare cars, and the way I compare cars and make my reviews, is when I talk about a topic that people bring up, I tend to go out and do a lot of research, look at YouTube videos, information from Car and Driver, Motor Trend, and so forth, from all the professional outlets that normally write reviews on cars, and then I'll go out and look at what videos are available at the time, and then I come back and I speak and share information which is summarized from all the information that I've gathered. So just to share that with you, Car and Driver says their best time putting down for 0 to 60 was 2.5 seconds. Haggerty has a video out where they actually did 0 to 60 in 2.4 seconds. So in the quarter mile, the E-Ray made the quarter mile run in 10.6 seconds based off Car and Driver. And their best time in a C8 Z06 was 10.5 seconds. So Car and Driver feels like the C8 Z06 actually outperforms the E-Ray in the quarter mile. Now, I say this all the time when I say this to the people I come across in person, is when you start getting into tenths of a second, it truly comes down to the launch. And when you go off the launch, that comes down to the driver. So if you get the wrong launch, the E-Ray is going to outperform the Z06 hands down every time. You need the right launch with the Z06 to beat the E-Ray. The E-Ray top speed is 183 miles per hour. The Z06 top speed with the Z07 package, which, by the way, the 0 to 60 times were done with a Z06 with the Z07 package, the top speed of that car is supposedly 189 miles per hour. That is very significant because when we look at the E-Ray and the Z06 utilizing the C8 Z07 package for the Z06, their top speed is a difference of 6 miles per hour. But when you remove the Z07 package and you go to the low wing performing car, that boosts the top speed almost 10 miles per hour because you lose the drag. Well, the E-Ray doesn't come with a high wing option. So the top speed of 183 miles per hour for the E-Ray is the low wing version of the car. So its top speed is actually a lot less than the Z06. And even on a side note, its top speed is a lot less than the C8 Z51 with a rear spoiler or a base C8 without the rear spoiler. And it goes 189 miles per hour with the Z51 package. And it goes into the 190s with the low wing or no wing on the base C8. So in essence, the base C8 has a higher top speed, which technically makes it faster than the E-Ray. You don't always find all the information in one location. Car and Driver gives you a nice breakdown that you can find on their website. And when you look at the breakdown, they tell you that the E-Ray reaches 130 miles per hour at 11 seconds. Well, the Z06 reaches 130 miles per hour in 10.3 seconds. The E-Ray gets to 150 miles per hour in 16.2 seconds, where the Z06 gets to 150 miles per hour in 15.2 seconds. So it actually gets to 150 miles per hour a lot quicker than the E-Ray. And as I explained before in countless videos beforehand, that the Z06 actually has higher top end performance than the E-Ray, and that's what makes the Z06 the better performing car in the long run. I'm going to share with you some information that it may make you believe the information I provided before was wrong. Now I'll explain to you how. In Haggerty's video, what they document and showcase is that the E-Ray reaches top electric horsepower performance at 40 miles per hour. And it delivers that performance all the way to 110 miles per hour. And after 110 miles per hour, that 160 horsepower performance provided by the electric motor starts to go down or dwindle away fast as the gas engine starts to outperform or overtake the electric motors. By the time it makes the run in the quarter mile, there is under 100 horsepower being provided. So when Haggerty did their tests, they consistently got 10.5 seconds. Their best time was 10.4. They actually have a display that you can watch the output of performance or horsepower added or boosted to the car on a gauge. I did not have that up during my driving experience with the E-Ray. So based off that scale, Haggerty was able to show you that at 110 miles per hour, the 160 extra horsepower starts to fade away. The E-Ray lost somewhere around 60 horsepower in every quarter mile run by the time they reached the quarter mile. They didn't give a precise number because that number fluctuated, so they basically just sat there and said, and it's all about wording, that the E-Ray was already under 100 extra horsepower being provided by the electric motors. I made a statement that once you get to about 120, 125 miles per hour, the back wheels or the rear engine overtakes the horsepower and the horsepower starts to fade away. Well, the reason why I made my statement was because you can actually feel the loss of power. You can feel the drop in power and performance from that 160 extra horses right around 120, 125 miles per hour. Now, The battery assist, the hybrid platform totally fades away at 150 miles per hour, where on the other hand, the C8 Z06, it's still delivering horsepower. It's still giving you peak horsepower performance as it accelerates to higher speeds. We don't feel the car drifting or falling back off until it starts to eclipse 170 miles per hour, which again makes the Z06 the better performing car. But you get the point. In Haggerty's test, and they share this information with you, they explain to you that's the reason why the Z06 starts to pull away from the E-Ray the moment you cross the quarter mile. And depending on the launch, the Z06 will outperform the E-Ray in the quarter mile because the E-Ray does the quarter mile under 130 miles per hour. The Z06 consistently does the quarter mile above 130 miles per hour. So it's getting to a speed a lot quicker. Now, I'm using these two videos as a reference, but I've watched so many videos, and there are a few other videos out there where they actually continue and talk about 0 to 60 times, they talk about rolling start times, and they actually talk about half a mile times and beyond. That video did state that the C8 Z06 outperformed the E-Ray in the half mile by a full second. But what was amazing by that is the base C8, the E-Ray just did outdo the base C8 in that half mile run by under a half a second. So what you also start to realize is that the extra weight added to the E-Ray from the hybrid platform starts to cancel out the longer the car has to go. So the base Stingray actually starts to run down the E-Ray as well, but we also see that in the aspect that the top end speed is actually a lot lower. But let's dive a little bit deeper. So when you look at the C8 Z06 and you look at the C8 E-Ray, the Z06 has higher top end speed and performance. The Z06 will consistently do half mile runs that dominate the C8 E-Ray. It's not even close. But what really is the game changer for me, and I think for the people that actually care to exist in the real world, when you remove the launching part of the C8 E-Ray, the parallelness and performance really fades away. The E-Ray does 30 to 70 in 1.7 seconds. The Z06 does 30 to 70 in 1.9 seconds. The base C8 does 30 to 70 in 2.1 seconds. So you start to see the difference in performance when rolling starts at it. The E-Ray does 30 to 100 in 2.4 seconds. The Z06 does 30 to 100 in 2.4 seconds. The base C8 does 30 to 100 in 2.9 seconds. We start to realize that once you add a rolling start to the equation, the significance of the E-Ray's performance goes away. And when you look at the quarter mile run from a rolling start, the C8 Z06 almost beats the E-Ray by a full second. When you get to the half mile run, the Z06 is almost 4 seconds faster than the E-Ray. But when you get to the half mile run comparing the E-Ray to the base Stingray, those numbers are quite baffling because the weight of the E-Ray starts to show and the base Stingray isn't that far behind. It's under full second. And I want you to understand this because we're talking about a car that takes 19 seconds to get from 0 to 150 miles per hour, where the E-Ray takes 16 seconds, 16.2 seconds to get to 0 to 150. But when you add the rolling start, that performance difference fades away. And this is why I believe the E-Ray struggles to sell, because most buyers of supercars don't buy cars for 0 to 60 times. They buy cars for performance while moving, because what we look at and what we determine our purchase on is how fast can we react and move while driving, and someone pulls up on you while you're already rolling and decides to take off. That's where our fun lies in this type of ownership. So when you look at these type of numbers, for me personally, this is why I struggle to commit to buying a C8 E-Ray over a Z06. Based off all the discounts and what you can buy a E-Ray for, you can argue the performance it provides for the money. But when you look at a Z06 as the alternative, and you look at how the two cars perform, you can't really justify buying an E-Ray over a Z06 when you know the Z06 outperforms it once you're moving. It's the better performing car. But at the end of the day, it really isn't coming down to what is the better performing vehicle. It's coming down to what their budgets will allow. And because they're being completely honest with their budgets, many people buy the E-Ray and they justify their purchase for buying the E-Ray as saying they get a car that performs just as good as the Z06 for less the money. So their justification is they have Z06 performance, but the truth of the matter is they do not have Z06 performance. And the owners that buy the Z06, they're truly buying the best version of the car that can be out, and they say it all the time. And they also remind you that it's the best car that you can buy for the money, and they're happy with their purchase. And I have to laugh at that because they say they want the best performing car. That's why you get the Z06, because you want the car, you want the king of the hill, you want the car that's going to perform the best, offer the best performance, whether it's track capabilities or performance on the street when you're just moving. But then you say, well, why don't you get a ZR1? Well, their justification for not pursuing the actual best performing car is that who in their right mind would spend that type of money for a car? Well, there's people that spend that type of money for the car because they want a better performing car. So it's not about actually having the better performing car. Again, it's about having what your budget allows. And what I've truly learned over the course of time is Corvette owners are quick to justify why they spend money, and the reason they spend it is always based off having the best performance or making the best purchase for your money. And when you look at it from that perspective, E-Ray sales struggle because it really doesn't dominate either side of the equation. So when you're looking for a true performance power and the best performance car between the E-Ray and the Z06, hands down, it's the Z06. And this is what the people who look for sports car performance, who live off performance, this is what they seek out. This is what we look to buy cars for. The E-Ray is the quickest Corvette as long as you stay below 100 miles an hour. But for most drivers and any Corvette owner, you know the car feels at home cruising right around 90 miles per hour. You have about 20 more miles per hour you can play with before your horsepower is truly not a factor anymore. Most Corvette owners that like to have fun with their cars, we're not coming from a dead stop. We're already rolling somewhere around 90 miles an hour. And when you decide to get on your car, this is where the performance shines the hardest, and this is where the E-Ray, in my opinion, shows why it's not the better option over the C8 Z06, because that window of performance is quite small. So when people say, yes, the two cars are parallel in power, on paper and acceleration from a dead stop, the cars are very parallel in power. But if you're already moving, the Z06 shows there is no comparison between the two besides the widebody. Let me know your thoughts. ICNV Driversedition. go ahead and hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, join the ICNV Driversedition community. We're an interactive community, which means if you hit me up on any one of my social media platforms or in the comments below, I'll do my best to respond. And if the topic you bring up is interesting enough, I may even shoot a video on it. But don't forget, we're also a community of car enthusiasts that love to drive cars to make you turn your head, that aren't your everyday people movers. And if you're one of those individuals, go ahead and lock into the channel, subscribe to your boy. We got more interesting content coming your way, and you don't want to miss out. We were all made in his image and given dominion over the world, which means we weren't just meant to be. So chase your dreams, build your visions, never ever give up, and embrace your own identity. It's okay to be unique. He's not done with you, and he's definitely not done with me. We were all given unique gifts, so embrace yours and step into your calling. That way you can become the best version of you that you were meant to be. You were given everything that you need. Just remember to stay humble, stay focused, and stay blessed. And I'll see you in these streets. Peace.